and welcome back to Lady Jane Books. Today I'm doing a Kindle haul. I mentioned in my previous video that I've been buying books like it's nobody's business, and I realized that having an instant download and a sale section on Kindle can be very detrimental to my TBR. But I wanted to take stock of what I've actually been buying. So I decided to do a Kindle haul. Let's take a look. The first book I purchased is Summer of Night by Dan Simmons. I saw this on Bookstagram. I think a couple of people I follow on Bookstagram were doing a readathon with it. And it sounded so good, and I bought it because I thought I was going to join in, but then I realized that this is a very long, hefty book, so slow reader did not do it. I believe this is a horror novel, and it is also the first book in a series. I believe the series is called The Seasons of Horror, so each of the 4 books represents summer, fall, winter, spring, which is pretty cool. So I like that concept. This book is about a small idyllic town that's very sleepy and lazy, but I believe there's an ancient curse because it said something about when the bell tolls, the plague begins or something. I don't know too much about this. I believe it may be about vampires or monsters or something supernatural. So it looks good, and hopefully someday I will get to it. The next book I purchased is Unspeakable Things by Jess Lowy. This book is set in Minnesota in the 1980s, and I believe it is based off of true events. This book is set in a small, idyllic town in Minnesota in the 1980s. Everyone believes it is the perfect place to raise a family and perfectly safe for children. However, soon, children start to go missing, mostly boys. And when they return, they are changed. Kids who were jovial and fun-loving come back reclusive, angry, and disturbed. What is happening to the kids in the town? I've heard that this is a very intense read. I think it's going to be very interesting that it may have been based off of real events. I don't know exactly what's happening, but I think it's going to be a very, very different type of book. The next book I purchased is A Head Full of Ghosts by Paul Tremblay. This is on my November TBR. I haven't read any other Paul Tremblay, but I've heard he is very good at horror. I believe this book centers around mental illness and maybe a ghost story and something supernatural. I'm very excited to read it, and hopefully I will know more soon. The next book I purchased is Lock Every Door by Riley Sager. I was originally supposed to read this months ago, I think for Summerween, and I never got to it. There is a lot of hype surrounding this book, and I read Home Before Dark by Riley Sager earlier this year and really enjoyed it. So I'm hoping that this book will be just as much of a favorite for me. I believe this is a story about an apartment building, and there are strange things going on in this house or apartment. I believe it sounds supernatural and like a ghost story, but I'm gonna have to dive in to find out. This next surprising book is called The Nurse by Mary J. McLeod. I believe that this is a memoir about a nurse on the Scottish Isle and her experiences working in the field. I bought this because it really reminded me of Doc Martin, if anybody's seen that series. I absolutely love Doc Martin. I love Call the Midwife. I love all of those type of like medical type of stories and miniseries. And this sounds very interesting. It sounds like she has a lot of different cases, and she gets to peek into the lives of the residents around her and really get to know like some of their more personal business. So I think this is going to be really, really cool. I love stories like that where it's about somebody who's very central to a small town and is working on medical mysteries or trying to diagnose people and just seeing like the trends of what's going on around them. So I think this is going to be a lot of fun. The next book I purchased is The Shadows by Alex North. I previously hauled a physical copy of The Whisper Man from Barnes & Noble, And so when I saw that this other novel was on deep discount on Kindle, I had to pick it up. I don't know much about Alex North's work, and I kept it that way on purpose because I really want to experience the whole story when I dive into it. I kind of want to go into it a little bit blind because I believe they are thrillers, and sometimes thrillers are best experienced that way. But I believe that this story centers on lucid dreaming, and it's in the same universe as The Whisper Man. So this sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun. The next book I purchased is The Turn of the Screw by Henry James. I recently watched The Haunting of Bly Manor, and I heard a rumor that it was loosely based off of this book, and I loved The Haunting of Bly Manor. I thought it was so much fun and so creepy and perfect for fall. I love The Haunting of Hill House too, so I knew I was going to love The Haunting of Bly Manor. So when I saw that the book that it was allegedly based off of was on sale, you know I clicked download. I believe that this book is only around like 130 pages. I could be totally wrong about that, but I think it's a shorter work. So I think it'll be really, really fun for when I want something kind of creepy and scary, but don't want to do a whole big, long, full novel. I believe this book centers on a group of friends at a holiday party who are sitting by the fireplace and swapping ghost stories. Beyond that, I'm not 100% sure on what else this book is about, but I think it's going to be a really, really great read. The next book I purchased is Coraline by Neil Gaiman. I've never read a Neil Gaiman book, but I've heard of many great things about his writing. I've also seen the animated film adaptation of Coraline advertised a lot on TV, but I never got to watch it. So I figured before I watch that movie, I'm going to have to read it first. Coraline is about a girl, I believe, who discovers another almost parallel universe to her own home life. And while it may seem like the perfect situation for her, things may not be what they appear to be. I believe this book is meant for a younger audience, but is actually quite scary. So that sounds pretty intriguing to me. The next book I purchased is Opium and Absinthe by Lydia Kane. I've already talked about this book a couple times on my channel because it was supposed to be on a TBR and then I never got to it. But I wanted to buy it when it was on sale, so here it is. And for those of you who've missed it, I believe this book is set around the time that Bram Stoker's Dracula has hit the market. And vampire hysteria is rampant around large cities and towns. I believe the protagonist's sister is discovered dead with 2 puncture wounds to her neck, and the protagonist is convinced that vampires have slayed her. However, our protagonist also has a couple of issues that make her a little bit unreliable, so will anyone actually get to the truth? This was actually a runner-up to Jade the Libra's book club pick, so I'm really excited that I get to own this and can kind of read it whenever I want. The final book I purchased recently is The Beautiful by Renee Ahdieh. This one I've been eyeing for a long time because I've heard it's a vampire novel and I believe almost a vampire romance novel, so that's intriguing me. However, I have mixed feelings about this because I read The Wrath and the Dawn by Renee Ahdieh when that first came out, and I DNF'd it. I couldn't get through that work, so I'm going to give her writing another chance with The Beautiful and see how it goes. This book is set in New Orleans in 1872, and New Orleans is ruled by the dead. Beyond that, I have no idea what this book is about. I believe it's about a vampire who falls in love with the protagonist, and she has to go into this kind of like underworld vampire universe. But beyond that, I don't know. But it sounds good. And that's all I have for today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. I'm waiting for my dryer to stop so there's not as much noise. And now someone's vacuuming too. This week has been very stressful, so it was a mug of tea type of day today. Not a cup of tea, I needed the full mug of tea. The dryer's still going. That should get the thumbnail. The unit literally said it had 1 minute left. It's been 9 minutes. Don't you like these? Try not to show your lipstick stain, Jane. Don't you love these mugs? They remind me of Hercule Poirot's Tisson. You know how we would always ask Miss Lemon for his Tisson, Miss Lemon. Tisson. Da 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 da. 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 Oh gosh, I'm running out of battery. It's done. I think it's done. I think it's done. Let's do it. Hi guys, and welcome back to Lady Jane Books. Today I'm doing a Kindle haul. Wasn't done. Dang it. I'll be right back. I'm gonna see what I can do about this. Now it's done. Okay. It knew Jane was coming for him. I've mentioned in my previous, I believe this is a horror novel. This was actually a runner-up to Jade the Libra's pick. This book is set in New Orleans during 1827. Nope, it's 72. Wow, I can read.